So I've just got home from the most incredible trip ever, where I road tripped basically across California. I started in the north and ended in the south. And I've had so many questions asking for my best bits, for my highlights, my favorite place, my least favorite place. So I'm going to break it all down for you. I'm going to tell you exactly where I went and visited, the things I did, and some of my highs and some of my lows. So let's get into it. Just as a heads up, this is probably going to be a longer video. So if you're here and watching, thank you, strap in. I'll be as quick as I possibly can to get to the point. But just to break down the itinerary and where I actually went. So I flew directly from Heathrow to San Francisco. That's where I started my trip. We stayed in San Francisco for 3 nights and basically had 2 full days there. After that, we picked up our hire car and we drove directly from San Francisco down. It took about 2.5 hours and we drove to Monterey and we stayed there for 1 night. We basically had like a full afternoon and evening in Monterey. And then after that night, we drove about 15 minutes, it wasn't far, from Monterey to Carmel by the Sea. And we spent the day in Carmel and the evening in Carmel and stayed overnight. After that, we drove directly from Carmel by the Sea down to Santa Barbara. There are different routes that you can take to get to Santa Barbara from up north, but we chose to do the Highway 1, is it called? The really iconic scenic route. It takes about an hour longer from the normal highway, but it is so beautiful. I would so highly recommend to do this. It took us about 4.5 hours, which I think was quite a good time. And we spent around about 5 hours in Santa Barbara. And then for the evening, we drove from Santa Barbara down to Malibu. We just saw the sunset in Malibu and had some dinner in Malibu. And then we drove on the same day, the same evening, from Malibu down to our Airbnb in West Hollywood, Los Angeles. So then we were obviously in LA. We spent 3 nights in West Hollywood. And then we continued our LA journey in Pasadena for 2 nights. So once we were finished in LA, we drove from where we were staying in Pasadena over to Joshua Tree. And we basically spent the day in Joshua Tree and explored the national park. That journey took around about 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes. It wasn't really that far. And then on the evening, we drove over to Palm Springs, which again isn't far. It's around 40, 45 minutes. And we spent the evening in Palm Springs and we stayed overnight and then explored Palm Springs the next day. So once we had finished in Palm Springs, we drove from there over to Laguna Beach. That took about 1 hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, and we got there really at about 5 o'clock and spent the evening in Laguna Beach. And then at the end of the night, we drove from Laguna Beach to our final destination, which was San Diego. We then spent 3 nights in San Diego and around about 2.5 days until we then flew home from San Diego back to Heathrow. Now that the itinerary's out of the way, I'm going to break down all of the different stops. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you my absolute favourite place, my number 1 highlight. This has been so hard to choose, and still, I feel like I'm changing my mind quite a lot. Just know, my trip was incredible, and I actually don't think there was one place I didn't love. So it's really hard to pick, but I have to say, drumroll, my favourite place on the road trip was Carmel by the Sea. And most people probably aren't surprised to hear that, because Carmel by the Sea, if you don't know, it's this fairy tale town. It literally looks like it's been written out of a storybook. It's so quaint and quiet. It's like idyllic. It's full of like boutique, beautiful shops. It's right on the coast. It's got a stunning beach. It's just unreal. Like, we had the best day. But I'm going to go through everywhere that I went, start to finish, and tell you my highlights and maybe rate it out of 10 and rank it. So I've had a little bit of a change of heart, because otherwise I'm literally going to be here all day. So I'm basically going to rank all of the places that I visited and went to and maybe rate them 1 to 10. I'm going to put them like my favourite to least favourite, even though I enjoyed absolutely everywhere, and maybe say a tiny little thing about each place. And then I may do a separate video with like my recommendations for each, you know, spot that I visited, because everywhere definitely has recommendations that I'd want to share. But anyway, starting with number 1, obviously what I've just told you guys, Carmel by the Sea, top recommendation, strong 10 out of 10. It's a beautiful little coastal town. It's so idyllic. Definitely just like a 1-day spot, maybe 2 days, but it's just stunning, so pretty, and just very much a bit of me. God, this is really hard. I actually haven't thought about this before I started doing it. Number 2, I'm gonna say San Diego. This is so hard because everywhere was so unique and special in their own way, but San Diego was incredible. I will say we went to Coronado Island. That was an absolute highlight. The hotel there, was it called Hotel del Coronado? 100% if I come back to San Diego, I'm staying there. And the beach just outside the hotel, it was absolutely out of this world. But the food in San Diego, the vibes in San Diego, it's so chill. It feels very different, very vibrant, very cool. And I'd go back there in a heartbeat. Probably, again, a solid 10 out of 10. All right, so number 3 has to be Joshua Tree. We visited Pioneer Town and then went on to Joshua Tree and did the national park. We didn't actually see the little town of Joshua Tree, so this is obviously me speaking about the national park. This was such a highlight day for me. Obviously, it was just such a different experience to the rest of California because it was a park, but just being in the desert with all of that stunning scenery, all of the different Joshua trees, and even going to Pioneer Town and seeing that like Wild West vibe and eating in that, I can't even remember what it was called. We had some brilliant food in Pioneer Town. That was just, it was, again, 10 out of 10. All of these are 10 out of 10s. How am I going to rank these? But yeah, that was one of my favourite days. I love Joshua Tree. This is literally so hard because also my judgment of each of these places was based off all of the different things we did in each of these places. So I'm going to have to say at number 4, purely based on like the activities and how much fun I had, it has to be Monterey, obviously in the north of California. Because Monterey were just, it was just so great. Like it was just such a coastal, like, I'm not sure if it's a city or a town, I'm not sure. But we went kayaking there. It was beautiful. Like there was so much to do, even though it's really small. And the 17-mile drive, obviously it's right next to Carmel, so they're sort of part and parcel, but it was fantastic. Monterey is such a vibe. Loved it there, loved it. I think I'm on number 5 now, so if I'm right in saying number 5, I'm gonna put as Palm Springs. We didn't actually spend a ton of time in Palm Springs. We spent a day and night there. The nightlife was good. It felt really clean, some really nice things to see. We went on the aerial tram, which was really good fun, although it was quite terrifying. I was very afraid, but beautiful views. It was nice. It wasn't my favourite, but it was still a lovely visit whilst we were there. So it's hard with this next one because I obviously took a stop off at Laguna Beach, but I didn't see enough of Laguna Beach. I only saw one beach and stayed for the evening and had some food. I don't think I saw enough of it to be able to rank it. So my opinion on Laguna Beach is that what I saw was lovely, but I'm not going to include it in this. So at number 6, I'm going to put LA. I stayed in West Hollywood and Pasadena. Pasadena was unbelievably stunning. If I could recommend, I mean, they're the only 2 places I stayed. Pasadena feels really safe, really, oh, there's hair flying around, really clean, very rich, like definitely could not imagine myself living there because I just don't have the money, but it is beautiful. We stayed in the most stunning hotel. It was amazing. But LA in general, sorry, this is going into a bit of like my opinions. It was meant to be quick, but lots of people told me that LA is very underwhelming. It's quite dirty and there's quite a lot of, sadly, homelessness and poverty there. And I do see that. It was not underwhelming, but it wasn't my favourite. And I just think it's quite a romanticised place, similar to Paris. You see, it just looks unbelievable in movies and just like this iconic spot, which it is. Lots of things are iconic. You know, we hiked up to the Hollywood sign. That's amazing. The Griffiths Observatory was incredible. We went to the Warner Brothers studio tour, the Paramount studio tour. They were unbelievable. We did so many incredible things in LA, but LA in general, like the place, wasn't one of my favorite spots, wasn't a highlight in terms of location, but the activities we did were, if that makes any sort of sense. And then I think I'm down to my final place, which in terms of like places that I can actually rank that I saw enough of, and that's Santa Barbara. So I think that's in 7th. Now, I'm so sorry to any diehard Santa Barbara fans. This was such a highly recommended place for me to visit. And I can see why. It was beautiful. We went to the clock tower and climbed up it. We went to the beach. Sadly, it was an overcast day. And also we did have a little bit of a run-in where we went to a coffee shop and this man came in and was all threatening and like threatening to beat up these children, which did put a dampener on the day, but I was just terrified. I'm always terrified, to be honest. Like any sort of threat, I'm like, my back's right up. But there was just a bit of a weird vibe in Santa Barbara, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. It was beautiful, but it just wasn't my favourite place. It was probably my least favourite place. I'm sorry if that offends anyone, it's just my opinion. But yeah, I will go into more detail about recommendations for each place, but in terms of like favourite to least favourite, because loads of people have been asking, that's it. And I'm sad I'm home, as I've said many a time.